drop box on the draw, does that have to be F8 off or go off?
No.
Because the line's got to be on, right?
No, it doesn't have to be on. So, so ortho constrains you to your Cartesian coordinates. So it constrains you to this, right? Perfectly horizontal, perfectly vertical. You could change it. You could change it so your ortho will set every 10 degrees. You could actually change it. But they have polar tracking for that, so you don't necessarily need to. So basically, if you're drawing a room, right, it's a lot easier to have it constrained to a perfect box that is perfectly horizontal lines, perfectly vertical lines, right? It's a lot easier to manipulate all that stuff. So normally you can be drawing with ortho on. You'll have certain instances where you may have to turn the ortho off. You know, if you're drawing a site plan, and let's say this is your site, right? And you got a building over here and a building over here, and then this building looks like that, right? So in this case, if I'm going to draw something in here, I don't necessarily want my ortho on, right? I'll show you a trick later, the UCS manipulation, so that you actually be able to change your ortho to reference that angle. So instead of referencing X and Y compared to your screen, right, it's going to reference to that. So, but that'll be later down the road once we get into some of the other stuff. But for now, I'm just drawing everything in ortho because it's a lot easier to manipulate. It's a lot easier to teach that way.
I can understand why ortho has to be off when we do the squiggly.
Right, no, yeah, exactly. When you do the spline, if you have an ortho on, it's just going to draw a straight line. Yeah. You could get it to go, if you go hard enough vertically, it'll start to curve, but not nearly like this shape, you know. So, again, construction lines, they're awesome. So right now they don't have the ortho on, right? It's doing all kinds of weird stuff, and you can actually see it's telling me my angles, right? So 340, 4, 2, 1, blah blah blah. So you could actually use the angles to draw it in there. So you see, I just drew one at 357 degrees.
Yeah, you took the ortho off, right?
Right. So you can draw. You don't have to have it on. It's easier to draw with it on. And especially, I mean, so in the drawing world, everything's perfect 90 degrees, right? In the built world, nothing is. But we want to draw it in 90 degrees because there's tolerances and different things like that. You know, like there's the old saying, get as close as you can and cock it, right? But it's just a lot easier when you're drawing, especially when you're starting out, to draw stuff in ortho. It's going to help a lot. Make sure you're stretching in ortho, you're copying. Maybe when you're rotating, you turn the ortho off to rotate because you may want to rotate it at 45 degrees, 30 degrees. Yeah, so you're going to have to, and again, I could simply put ortho on while I'm in a command. I didn't have to exit out of the command. Now my ortho's on. You see? Turn it off. Now it's off. So, okay. What's this one? Ray? Oh. So, it's like a construction line in one direction. So, you can see I started at a start point and it's going off into forever. And I mean, it literally goes forever. Because if I keep zooming out now, and then it still goes. So, jeez, delete that guy. Okay. Multiple points. Oh, so this is like a spline too. I've never used this before in my life, to be honest. Specify point. I did. What? Create multiple point objects. So they're just creating a point? I don't know. I've never actually used that in my life, so
Me neither.
I'm sorry. It looks like it's just creating points. I don't know. It looks like it creates a line from points, but then it's just creating points.
Yeah, how does it fill in?
What does it say? You can use measure and divide to create point. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's all it did is creating points. Sorry, it just looks funny. So you can create a point. So if you create points, right, a bunch of points. If you want to snap to those points, you actually have to have the one called node. So here at the bottom, you see node. It looks like a little dot, and it has the word node. So if I click that on and I draw a line, I could actually snap. Does everybody see what the snap looks like? It's a circle with an X through it. That means you're snapping to a node. So where this might come in handy is when we divide something, it divides and it creates nodes. We could actually change the change what the points look like. I don't know where it is. Manage. Oh. Yeah. Where is the point? Annotate, parametric, home, draw. Huh. Insert. It's usually under home, properties, proofs, utilities, clipboard view. Huh. Trying to find where to adjust the point. P style? No. Because you could actually change how the points are viewed. So you can make them different shapes, but not sure. Modify. Line, break at point. Wow. I owe you that one. I owe you that one. Okay. So the next one on here deals with points as well. So we could actually take a line and divide it. So if we were to take this line here, so I'm going to explode that box so I just have a simple line. That's
Are we on line mode?
No, I exploded a box that I already had so that I just have a line. So if I select this and we drop it down, oh, wrong button. If I select this and drop it down and you select here, it's a divide command. I believe it's div. So if I pick the object I want to divide, it's asking me how many divisions do I want. Let's just type in 10. So I just remembered. It should have right there. DDP. DD.
What'd you get divide again?
Right here?
Are you gonna drop down?
Right here.
Okay.
DDP type.
It's P type for the
P type?
P type.
P type?
Command for points.
Yeah, there we go. So P type. Where is it up here though? Because, like I said, mine still uses the old toolbar, so it's kind of different. But if you hit P type, and then you could select how your object looks on any size of one of these, so you could actually see the point now, and then I should be able to see those points I created up here in space. So
Doesn't valid for me. Oh, I got it valid. I typed in 10, it said invalid.
So read your command bar. Make sure that you divide, and it says select the objects. So we're going to select an object. It says how many segments. So if I type 10 and enter, it'll break that line into 10 equal segments. That's a good way to create like a grid structure, or we use it for cabinets when we want to create equal doors all the time. You want to create seams in something and you want them to be equal seams, you could do that so that you could draw seams in there a lot easier. So again, no, nothing. So again, it's under draw, under the drop down, the top, the second from the right, and the shortcut is DIV.
Why is it not selecting if I want to select just a line? It's like doing a line all across.
Which line are you selecting? That's the question.
I guess it's doing it to all of them. See the line.
No, you're not selecting anything. You're putting points. You're still on points. You're making points. No, that's points.
Can you edit
Oh.
a
Next
divide?
one. Yeah. What's that?
Can you edit a divide?
No, you just go to redo it.
So then let's do
I wish you could. You can do it parametrically, actually,
It's always
which we're not going to get into. But you can actually set up rules where you can edit attributes so that it'll divide a line. You can sit there and you can re-edit it because it'll actually be in a dialog box. But that's something completely different. You can start creating all kinds of stuff parametrically, but it's a deep world to dive into.
every time
To
you
where you can just start typing stuff really fast and it like creates a whole floor plan for you.
every time you put a segment, you can put a line, right?
What's that?
Every time you want to put in a segment into a number, you put a
Yeah.
comma, right? It's not point.
Say again?
Yeah, like this, like you say you said enter the number of segments, right?
Yes.
You said 10.
10, enter.
You don't put a comma.
No. A comma is only going to be when you're drawing things that have to have an x and a y coordinate. So the first one's going to be your x coordinate, the second one will be your y coordinate.
Like
So-
in a box.
Like a box or a line or a circle, you know, when you're selecting the base point of the box. So now type in p type. I'll have to figure out where it is. I don't know where the adjustment is up on the top. So if you click any one of the other ones, just not that one. I click that one.
This one?
That's the one no, the one above it. That's the one I always use. Hit
Oh,
okay.
and then
Hit okay.
I got you.
Then you got all your points. You can see them, huh?
Yeah.
So,
And do
so
we-
is everybody able to change their point type?
So it doesn't actually break up the line, right? It just creates a point.
Yeah, it's not creating segments in the line. It's just creating it so that you could create segments. So
Utilities.
utilities, thank you. What are you?
At the home and then utilities tab.
Point style. There it is. Okay, here it is. Thank you. P type or point style will allow you to edit what your point is, what it looks like. So I don't think you can trim from a can't trim from a point. It doesn't actually have any type of measurements from it. So
We could also control the distance on this one.
I'm sorry, control the distance. Like, what do you mean the distance?
From like whatever, like you said, chain link fence.
Right.
Can you control the?
No, so remember, so these are not associated with the line. So you see how they don't stay on the line?
Yeah.
They're actually their own individual objects. You can't trim from them. You can't do any of that. So if I select the object, if I could select it. So I think is this blue block and then 1 0. And oh, I can't insert a block. So so the question was, it's not associated with the line that you're actually dividing. It's just like an extra point that you could do, like a control point or something from it. So, for instance, I could do a bunch of extension lines, basically, to come in here, and then I could come back and trim them all off, and trim them off, and trim them off, and trim them off, and create a bunch of objects of the same size. So, like I said, we use it a lot in my field for creating like an upper cabinet like that. You want all the same doors to be the same, so you would divide it. If you're like a structural engineer, you're gonna use it for your column grid, stuff like that, so that you have an even column grid. Different things like that. So you can create, if you're doing like a landscape plan and you want to create seams in the concrete, you can do it so that they're all even. You use it to create stairs. You'll see, helps with stairs. Then you can divide it all even, and then you just kind of draw lines across so that it's. That's divide. Again, it's this one, and then point style is over in the utilities. What's this one? Measure. So measure does exactly that. I can click on that, and it'll tell me the length.
So we select object to divide.
Yes.
Okay, selected. It comes up, enter the number of segments.
Yes.
10.
And you have 10 segments that are exactly the same size.
Okay, and what's the next key though? Do I
Enter.
click on it?
No, you can see.
Enter?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, look at that. I don't even know what I did there. Yeah. So region is similar to boundary, except for it is not controllable. Boundaries are better because they're polylines. The region is just something that's not associated with geometry. What the? They won't even do it. Won't even let me do it. Oh, there we go. So before, when I had a polyline, if I selected the corner of this object, it would actually stretch up and down. Now it's actually moving the whole thing. Like I said, it's not. It's the regions are not going to be like modifiable. You see, if I stretch it, it just moves the whole thing. So it's similar to a block, but it's not quite a block. And you guys don't know what a block is yet, but you will. So, like I said, polylines work better than regions. I rarely, if ever, have used a region in my life. So, but if you need to use a region for some reason, it's here. I think it's probably REG. No, yeah, region, REG. And then if I select it, it'll actually create a region. But now, it's not an actual object that is kind of malleable. So I don't even think I could trim it out now. Yeah. So it's not. It's like a non-modifiable shape. Okay. These other ones I don't think we even need because they are three-dimensional. Yeah, we don't need that. So the revision cloud. If you've ever seen any type of architectural drawings, when something changes, you will create a revision cloud. So the first is going to be the arc length. Yes.
You can't rotate after you've created the division.
No, so the points are not actually associated with the object. You could rotate the points independently, but so I can rotate these all I want, right? but if I rotate,
The whole thing.
they don't go with it. Okay. So the revision cloud or rev cloud, the arc length. So if I just type 10, 12, whatever. Basically, it creates a cloud, and all that is for like annotation, so that you could show somebody that something has changed. Usually, you'll have like a small little triangle next to it with some sort of key that's telling you, "Hey, it's revision 4, 1, 2," and then on your title block, you usually have something that is telling you that this revision was created on the date usually, but. So just so you know, that is there, and then it's also, yeah, there's no shortcut. I have a shortcut created, but rev cloud or revision cloud. So you could actually click an object, and it'll turn that object into the revision cloud. So for instance, if I had this and I wanted to create the revision cloud, I would do revision cloud. I'm going to make my thing a little smaller because it's too big right now. Then if I just do object, it'll turn that object into the revision cloud. So it's a lot easier to do it. You could do it by multiple points. So if I do a polygon, I could actually, you could see, you could create kind of a funkified shape like that to create a revision cloud. So again, this is going to be something where your client comes back to you, probably, maybe not the client, but maybe the city comes back to you and says, hey, you need to change this. This isn't up to code. Or so you can use the revision cloud for that. And there's multiple ways. So in here too, freehand, I could literally draw a circle. You know. So in style, there's normal, which looks like this. Then there's calligraphy, which is the one we use because it just kind of looks a little nicer. Kind of looks like the calligraphy pen, you know, like the old school big Sharpie markers and stuff. But it's totally up to you how you want to use it. Yeah, so that's the revision cloud. I know, really fun, but I just want you guys to know that it is there. So within modify, do we need any of these? Set by layer, change space, lengthen, edit polyline. It's fine. Kind of already did some of these. We'll do break. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. So break here, not a break. We already had that. But so basically, if I have like, oh, I deleted it, right? My doorway. I have my floor plan, and this is my floor plan. These are my walls, right? And I want to put a window here, right? So I could actually break at this point here to then draw on the window. So we're going to do that real quick. So you could break a line, you could break a polyline, you could break a rectangle, you could break a circle.
Where do you find the break?
So it's under modify, and then it's here. I don't know, this bottom row. Make sense? So there's two different ways. You break by a point, or you could break by basic selecting 2 points. So the first one, select the object that you want to break, right? And where you pick that, it's going to create your start point for that break. So now if I drag my mouse out this way, you can see that now I have a gap basically in my line. So the other way that you would do it was a break by a point. So now it's simply, if I click, it breaks at that point there. And it doesn't actually create a gap. But now I have two lines that I could actually modify. So I just basically add like an additional point in there. So like I said, if you have something that, you know, you could always trim it out. You could break it. You could do different things like that. So, but I think BR, right? Yeah, break. That way you'll be able to put doors, windows. I mean, you could always break something and then
I would put the slats in.
slats.
Yeah.
We're gonna draw a window right now.
No, you have to draw, well, you can, whatever you want to use for the symbol for window, hatch, whatever.
No, but you wouldn't. So a window would probably actually be. You could do it as a block. You could do it as a series of lines. You could do it as a parametric.
Lines.
Yeah. Well,
Slide the lines.
no, it's that you're thinking of an elevational view. You'd have the slided lines to show it like glazing.
Okay.
But in a plan, it'd be two rectangles with the line. Some people like showing the window thickness. It's not really needed, but yeah, we'll get there.
So what are we gonna do with this open space right now then?
It's just open space.
Leave it? All right. Can we hatch that space or something?
You can't hatch a space because it's
No, you
open.
can't do it, yeah.
Go ahead, you can try.
No, you can't because it's an open space.
There you go. So if we break, I want it. Yeah, it's kind of dumb, but so you could break so that you could draw another line this way, so that you could add on to a house or something like that kind of deal. If you have a house, you're adding on to it. What are the rest of these? Reverse. That you're not going to copy a nested object. Delete duplicate. So, if you accidentally, which Klaus had this earlier, so let's just say I drew another line and I exploded it, right? And I have a line on top of a line on top of a line. So there's a cool command that's called, it's actually called overkill. It's kind of cool, but so if you type in overkill and I select all these objects, it's going to say, it's going to give you the tolerance. You could set parameters, so it's only by color, by layer, blah, 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 blah. This is what just hit OK. So now, if I delete this line, which it had a duplicated line, it's now gone. And it also took this line here and basically, so basically, like if you have two lines right on top of each other, it's going to join those two lines and make them one. It's going to use the longest line to do it. So sometimes you'll see like you got like a real mess if you're using construction lines and stuff like that and you want to clean it up. It's a real fast way to do it. I got to do it with one of my architects that I work with all the time because he just draws lines on top of lines on top of lines for some reason. And so overkill is a really cool command. And it's a real recent command, only like 4 or 5 years old, so it's pretty cool. So when we were talking about draw order earlier with the hatch, remember it said behind the boundary, in front of the boundary. So if for some reason you're trying to select, well, let's do this. I'm going to make this one solid. So that, okay. So now if I'm trying to pick the boundary and I can't select the boundary, right? Like I want to pick that boundary, but I can't get it. There's two ways I could do it. Select them both. I could hold shift and select the center, and then now that's going to deselect. So shift is going to deselect the one you're selecting. You don't have to hold control like some of the other commands to add to your selection. You can always pick multiple things. If you hold shift, it's going to unselect it. So that's one way to do it. The other way is under modify and under draw order. If I hit here, I see where it says send to back. So think of, although AutoCAD right now everything's at elevation 0, 0, 0, 0 and it's drawing all on a flat, there still is an order of the drawing. So if I hit send to back and I select the hatch, I hit spacebar, now I can select the boundary a lot easier. So you might run into that, especially when you're drawing your plan. You want to adjust, a wall or something, then you can't get it. So you may want to send the hatch to the back, or whatever. Sometimes you want to bring dimension lines to the front, just so they're on top of everything, so that when you have like a background mask on it, it actually does it, so you don't have a line going through the dimensions, so you can actually read the dimensions. So, and then this one has a bunch of different ones. So you could bring it to front, bring above an object. So if you select that, then you select the object you want to put it. It's going to put it right in front of that one. but it's not going to bring it in front of some other objects that may be in front. So it is based off of the order that you drew everything. So if I draw a line here and then I draw a line here, this line is technically on top of that other line. So again, it happens to do with like a lot of selection and stuff. Then also when you get into like plot styles and stuff, if you have a certain line that's set to print to gray instead of black, if it's behind the black line, it's going to print black. If you put it to the front, it'll print gray. So different things that you might have to do that with. So and then there's these like all-inclusive ones. Bring all the text to the front. Bring all the dimensions to the front. Like I said, with the dimensions, you may want to bring it forward. If you're trying to dimension this right here, and you got a dimension here, but you have a hatch coming through it, and you can't see it. If you bring it forward, and you have it so that it has an actual text mask on it, it'll actually show up a lot easier, so you should read it. So, which actually brings us into the next thing, which is annotation, which is always the fun and boring stuff. But so annotation is going to be text, it's going to be dimensions, it's going to be your quick leaders or your multi-leaders, which basically, if you've ever seen like a set of drawings, you know, dimensions is exactly that. It's showing you how long something is, or it may show the radius of the circle, and then multi-leaders will be used to do call-outs. So you could call out, you know, wall or door, different things like that. And then you also have standardized text, which a lot of times you can use for notes on the side of something, or you can use to like call out like a specific room. If you're in a room like this classroom, you know, you could say classroom 2, 2265, whatever, what have you. So so we're basically going to be in this area here for the rest of the class. And so the first one, multi-line text. So if I select that, so it's going to say select the first point, and then I could either drag it out as far as I want. And again, you can modify this afterwards. This has control points. So you can have different things up here, but I don't necessarily need to mess with all that right now, because I could simply click here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay. So in here, just like with the hatch, your ribbon changes automatically because now you're in the middle of a command. So you have annotative, you have standard. So annotative is going to be based off of the scale of your drawing. Standard is just going to be a finite amount. So for the time being, we're just going to use standard. So it should default to standard. Then here you have you're going to have different, excuse me, this is where you can type the height of the text you want. So for now, we'll just do, I don't know, 0.5. The mask, so what a mask does is, imagine if you draw text over an object and you have a line running through that text. If you mask it, it's actually going to blank out behind the text so that you can actually read the text. So let's turn it on for now. So, and then just say use background mask, and then also use drawing background color. So basically it's just going to create like a little black box. You can see how the grid no longer shows up behind it. Then over here it's real similar. So you got all kinds of different text styles and stuff like that. We'll just leave it as Arial for now. It's fine. Again, just like Hatch, you can change the color of it if you want. We're going to leave it as bilayer. You got justification. So it's just like if you're in Word or something like that, where top, left, blah, blah, blah. You can see if my cursor's moving. Bullets, numbering, all this different stuff. Columns, special symbols. So these are real, like kind of to the design. So degrees. And then it also shows you like a shortcut next to it. So %D will give you the little circle for degrees, right? So for instance, you want to say all lines are 45 degrees unless, dimensioned, whatever. You could give some sort of command like that. Plus or minus, if you have something that you don't necessarily care if it's the exact dimension, you could do plus or minus, etc., etc., etc. It does come with a spell check now, which is nice. So let's just go ahead and we're going to type classroom. So it'll work if you capitalize it. So you can just see it's just like regular text. That's nothing really special. So you could hit the text or close the text editor to enter out of it. So if you hit enter in this command, it's actually going to just do that. It's going to return back just like in a Word or something like that. It's going to actually give you multi-line text because we're in right now. So if you want to get out of it, you can click out of it. So if you click somewhere outside of your text box, you see that it actually closes.
You can see it now.
Because you didn't change your height.
I thought I did.
I'll zoom in.
Yeah, I see.
So if we click back on it, you can see that it highlights it, and you can see how it has a little blue box. So that's the mask that we put on there. So if we move that, just with the move command, and I want you just to move it over a line. So you see how it makes the line behind it disappear so that you actually still read the text? Does everybody have that? No?
No.
You forgot to hit mask. So if we double click on the word classroom or something, you'll bring up your text editor back. So you see this little button right here? It says mask.
Okay.
Then it brings up the background mask, and then you want to use background. And you can adjust this border to whatever you want. I usually just leave it default. It works pretty good. So, and you can move this with a control point. You can create a larger box, smaller box. So that I can move it to here. You can rotate text. It's just like a regular object. You can rotate it. You can copy it.
So the line doesn't show behind there?
Because of the mask.
Mine still shows up.
You've clicked mask?
Yeah.
So change your draw order. Bring to front or bring in front of object. So is this showing up like that?
Yeah.
So if you come here and you go here, oops, and you click here and say bring to front, what, does it work? I'm just curious. Did you have both boxes checked when you did mask?
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah? So it's just drawn behind.
Yeah.
So text is completely changeable, just like with all the mod commands. I don't think you could trim text or chamfer text, but copy, move, rotate, all that kind of stuff. You could do the text. Okay. The other type of text is single line text. So this one works a little differently. So rather than creating a box, you're simply creating a single point. So you want to turn your ortho on. And you start typing. And that's it. It doesn't really... If you hit enter, it'll exit out of the command.
Any point?
Yeah, I just pick a point, quick across.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the benefits of that one?
So the benefits... I don't know. I use multi-text all the time.
Yeah.
So just forget that.
Well, here's the other thing too. So okay, the one benefit is when I click into the multi-text, you see how it brings up the cursor and I actually have to highlight everything, right? With the single line, you see how it highlights everything? I could rechange it really fast. That'd be one instance. But I could also take multi-text and I could explode it. Now it's a bunch of single line text. So the shortcut was MT is multi-line text. And then I think just the other one is T, right? Yeah. No, it does both do M text now. So shortcut is T or MT, and they'll give you the multi-line text. You right click. I think you right click here, and you could do it, or you could simply double click. So this will bring you back into the editor here at the top by right clicking.
Straight out. I
What?
clicked and the whole thing just disappeared.
You clicked, and the whole thing disappeared.
Yeah, everything I wrote was on the inside. I left click, I clicked.
Because it's probably like this big. Can you zoom in?
No, it was pretty good size.
No, but so that's what's really weird. So in AutoCAD, it'll actually show it really nice and big when you're drawing it. So if I type here, you see how big it is?
Well, yeah.
You see? So if you type it and then you go zoom out, it doesn't always type when you're typing it at the same size that it physically is. It's really weird. I don't know why, but trying to see. Why did it change? See, it's changing my size. Yeah. So if I do 0.2, let's see. See, it's automatically defaulting to that size. That's weird.
Yeah, it doesn't do that on my computer. That work stays at
Did you find your text?
Oh, yeah, I've got it, yeah.
Where was it?
Right where I typed it.
But you were zoomed way out, right?
No, I clicked on it and I knocked it out. I just redid the whole thing.
Okay.
And what if I click on it again?
Double click it. You're editing it now, right?
It says specify opposite corner of.
No, not double. Don't hit the double click with the mouse. So highlight the text and then click it twice really fast.
Okay.
And then your editor comes back up, right? So there, I could change the size to.
Okay. I'm with you.
Okay.
The font too.
Yeah. So here you could change the font per, or if we go here to annotation and you see this little A with a little brush next to it, it's actually the text style. So if we click that, it should bring up a different dialog box. So within here, you can have as many different text styles as you want. So rather than changing the text at the local level, this one will change it kind of at the global level. So if we just go over here and we hit new, we can leave it as style 1, that's fine. But let's just say, I don't know, I want city blueprint, right? I could come in here and I could change whatever I want. For now, we're just going to apply, okay? So I have close. So right now, this text is standard. So if I go to properties, PR, right? And my style, you can see here it says standard. So if I simply go to style 1, it'll actually change the text style of it. So you could do it there, or again, if I'm editing it, I could change it here to be something I want. But now, look at the style, still says style 1, but the text is different. So now, even if I go back to standard, it still doesn't change it because you've broken the link between the two. So always try to do the text styles because it's a lot easier to control. Because, for instance, if I do this and I go, you know what? I don't like that text, but I got this text and I got text here and here and here and here, all over the place, right? Like my whole floor plan is listed with a bunch of different text, right? But I want to change them all. I could come here, and I could pick courier, whatever, hit apply, hit close, and they all change at once. So that's kind of why you want to use the stylus, so that you could change the text, like I said, globally. And sometimes you'll have certain notes for like for when we do it, we have notes for the sawman in one textile, and then we may have it for the assembly crew in another textile, installation guys another, just so they get used to standards and they look at, okay, this is me, this is me, this is me. We actually use colors and stuff too, but you don't necessarily have to do that. But sometimes you'll have like the room name as a certain textile, and you may have the finish of that room, like if you're having carpet in there, or VCT or porcelain tile or something like that. You may actually use a different textile on that, just so that you could differentiate the two, and it's real easy, real fast. So again, you want to have different types of textiles within there. So yeah, and I mean, we could name it style 1, but you could go in here and you could rename it to, you could even just name it the name of the font that you're using, what have you. So, any questions about text and textiles? The other thing we do is, if I have text, and let's say that's my text, but in this drop down it's going to show me all my styles. So let's say that is standard, right? So you see how this text is a lot larger than the other one. So again, if I do match properties and I select this one and then select that one, it actually matches it, and it's actually going to shrink it down. So if you drew it in the wrong style and you want to change it to the style quickly rather than going to the drop downs, type in MA, match properties, and pick your source and then pick your destination, basically. So, or you come here, you could come into annotation, come and click down on this one. So this will give me all the different breakdowns. So I could hit standard, whatever. And so now it's standard. So now it's Arial again. So different ways. You can change it there. I could change it here. Like I said, always multiple ways to do one thing. Okay. So I'll leave that open for a while. The next thing would be dimensions. So dimension. So basically, for the dimension, for this style of dimensioning at least, you collect start point, end point, and then where you want to place the text. So, but as you can see, I can't see that. So just like, I can't even. There we go. Just like I'm gonna unpin that. Just like the textile, you also have dimension styles. So it's the little dimension symbol with the brush to it. So right now we're at standard. We can simply go into modify. Okay. And if I want to make everything larger at once, so within here you're gonna have the color, the line type, the line weight, how far it extends beyond the ticks. We're not using ticks, we're using arrows right now, so that's why it's blanked out. The baseline spacing. So all this is going to affect different parts of the dimension. So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to type 1. Okay? And then if I hit 1, and you can see that it actually changed the baseline spacing to 1. Let's see if I modify it to like 12. It should change. Why isn't it changing this one? Because this one's not part of it, huh? It is on standard. Or is it on annotative? Huh. Why is it not? Well, let's do this one. Let's do the linear one instead. Oh, because I'm changing the wrong one. Right? I don't know. No, I'm not. Huh. Why is it not changing? That's interesting.
I think you have to redo the line.
Redo the line?
Yeah, like the dimension.
But it's part of the style. It should be changing it. No? See, it's still not. It's interesting why it's not. This is beyond me. Huh. Not changing.
I think you closed it, not. I think it said like you closed, but you didn't apply it. Alright, never mind.
Is yours changing?
No.
That's weird. Don't know why it's not changing.
It's not that one though, because I measured the spacing between there and it's 116.
Oh, so it's this one. Offset to. So which one is the baseline spacing? Sets the space between the dimension line of baseline dimension. Enter. Oh, that must be for like the multi-line text. All right, so sorry. We're gonna change this one.
Yep, babe.
So if we change it to 4, you can see how it jumps all around. So there's CAD standards and stuff that we will be using. And when I give you the first one, I'm actually going to give you guys a blank document that you guys could download that has the layers. It's going to have the dim style that I want you guys to use, so you don't have to go in there and create it all your own. Just for like the basis, it's just a lot easier and a lot cleaner. You'll have to use the right one. There'll be multiple in there. But you have to use the right layers, etc. So the extend beyond the dim line. So the kind of CAD standard, at least in architecture, is everything is 1/8 of an inch. So that's 0.125. Oops. I don't want to cut it. Same thing here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change all of these. And then offset from dim, paste, and then fit. So then in here, I'm just going to, so what fit does is it changes all your sizes globally. So if I have 1/8 set and then I go fit, right now it's at 1, right? So if I fit it to 10, it's going to be 10/8 or, 1 1/4. So we're going to want to do 10 just because I want to be able to see it. So now you can see my dimension. I can actually see it. So
Can you repeat that?
yeah, let me get rid of this. This is my way. Okay, so under here, so on the drop down under annotation, dim styles. I think is it D enter? Yeah, D enter. D is a shortcut.
It's
Or dim style.
dim style?
D yeah. So under annotation, there's one here that looks
Yeah, dim style.
yeah. Okay. Then if you go into modify, you can just modify the standard because we're not adding anything yet. So you have very, 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 very lots of different ways to modify all your stuff. You could have the color of the lines be red, the color of the extension lines be cyan, so that if I come in here, you could see, different things like that. But the way that I show you guys how to do it is per layer. So when we get into layers, you'll see like put your dimensions on one layer, and you'll see like, for instance, when we had, just show you an example. Start menu. This floor plan sample was pretty good. So you can see within here like all the different colors and stuff for layers. So if I go on here, it's got different text and stuff, and that's all layers and stuff. But we're not gonna get ahead of ourselves. Trying to get ahead of ourselves. So anyways, de-enter, dim styles, modify. So just for now, just we're gonna use an 1/8, and we use the fit of 10 just so we could actually see it. And you'll see like the fit's used based on the scale that you're using. So if you're drawing a scale of, you know, a 1/4 inch, then it's 48. If you're drawing an 1/8 inch, it's 96. It's just basically take 12 times the lower part. So anyways, we'll get back to this. So in here in the baseline spacing, 1/8, extend 1/8 or 0.125, offset is 1/8, symbols. It really doesn't matter right now. I just want to show you that.
It's easier to understand.
Yeah, but you know these, like if I keep increasing it, well, let's increase it really slowly. So if I go 2, you can see that the lines are gonna extend really, really ridiculously. So that's why we try to keep it to an 1/8, so it'll all look kind of uniform. Within here, you have different kind of arrowheads that you can use. Various different practices are going to use different ones. You know, architecture uses the tick, engineering uses the arrows. A bunch of different things in here actually. So the leader, it's giving you the leader. So we'll just leave it as closed field for now. Then your text. So here you can set the text that you want. So since we have 2 different text styles, you can see I have courier in here. So I can select that one if that's the text I want. Just leave it as standard for now. We'll be using Romans once we get there, but then fit at 10. So you can see here. So very similarly to the text styles. So if I just do copy of standard for now, and then if I do fit, and let's just do it at like 5, just to show the difference. Okay. And if I do a linear, so you can see the difference between like the size of here is, you know, half of this one basically. Just because I have different styles, and you could have endless amount of styles in here of dimension styles, just like an endless amount of text styles. And again, like I said, you may have certain dimensions that you give to certain people. Some may be for presentation. Some may have a tolerance that's larger, you know, depending on who you're giving it to. So
I'm not getting the measurement for some reason. The measurements on the side for the whole rectangle.
so if you click the linear one,
Yep.
and you select your the corners or the endpoint, and then click the other endpoint, and then scroll up or down, and then click again. You don't get nothing. So did you not change your dimension styles?
Yeah. 120 to 1/4 or 125.
Yeah, it's there. It's just
Oh.
small. It's just small.
See?
Yeah, it's just small.
Makes it look like
So if we go in here and
Okay.
modify it, and you see you didn't change fit, that's what you did change.
So I can do
So this is gonna scale everything bigger. Fit scales everything bigger. So now you guys get to mention everything.
there we go.
So just real quick, so these are linear. This one's gonna give you a bunch of different types of dimensions that you can use. Linear, so angled is exactly that. Now I could have a dimension that's actually dimensioning something at the angle, versus if I did linear, it's gonna give me a different dimension because it's only gonna give me the length of that. So you see how you use different ones for different things, right? Then if I have a circle, you have the radius, so I could type the radius, or I could use the diameter. So, and it actually comes up with a little diameter symbol pre-populated for you, so it's nice. So there's different ways to do that. The angular one would be for something like this. What is it? No, did not aligned. Angled. Yeah, I did. Thank you. So angled, so I would pick both sides, and you can see that it's probably not really 45, but the tolerance is only set to 0. So, yeah. So those are the main ones. Leaders. We'll do leaders next time because that's a whole nother. Leader styles. I don't even know if we need tables. I guess we could do a table. Yeah. Dimension is not fun, but you kind of have to do it. So on Monday, I will give you assignment number 1. I was supposed to give it to you
Today?
on Wednesday, technically, according to the thing, but I get it a day early, just that way, because I will be gone, not next week, but the following week. So that way,